Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. Sister Circle is now live. All right, here we go. Boom. How's everybody doing? All right. What a great day. Holy cannoli. Woke up to sunshine. So good. So, needless to say, my body's not in stress response today. But yours might be. And so let's talk about that. Because if we don't know when our body is in stress response, we don't know how to shift it out. And when we learn how to fully embody our body, it means we're in our body. It means that we are in our body when it's feeling good, and we're in our body when it's not feeling so good. So knowing when you're feeling that stress response in your body will help you bring awareness, create space so that you can move into thriving. Because nobody wants to sit around feeling crummy, right? And when we don't know how to shift that energy, we end up doing things like, drinking a bottle of wine to numb that feeling, or eating Doritos out of the cupboard, or, yada, 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 whatever your numbing copenism is. If you're feeling that stress response and not being aware of it, you're going to find other ways of feeling better. And so learning what the process is, learning what it looks like, helps you do the shifting, thriving, enjoying, but doing it in a healthy way. And the faster you get at this, or the better you get at this, the faster you move through it, the faster you can acknowledge, the faster you can recognize, the faster you can shift, so that your stress response is no longer a day or a week or a month. You don't get into those patterns of depression. You don't get into those patterns of anxiety. You don't cause disease. You don't cause burnout, because you're catching it sooner. And that's power. That's self-empowerment. Okay? So our nervous system, we have two nervous systems. We have the rest and restore, and we have the fight or flight, right? The rest and restore is what we're in when we're sleeping, when we're feeling good, when we're feeling empowered, when we're feeling anabolic, right? It's the heart rate is even, digestion is gurgling and feeling good. You're feeling open, right? That's the aim of things. That's when everything is going in flow. Your hormones are going in flow. Your energy is radiating and thus attracting, right? So when it comes to manifesting, you want to be in that anabolic energy. Stress response happens. Life happens. There's always going to be triggers. It's not about not being in stress. It's not about being happy all the time. There are purposes to contrast in our life. Contrast is there to show us where we're out of alignment. Contrast is there to show us what we want versus what we don't want. Triggers are beautiful and exciting things because they show you where you still need to heal, right? They show you where you need to grow. And so understanding and recognizing these things are opportunities for you. So our stress response is fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Okay? And these are developed in the first early stages of our lives. And if left unchecked, they become subconscious patternings. So fight, obviously, that's that conflict energy, right? You're triggered and you just want to like scream and yell back. Who can relate to that, right? Flight, which is avoidance, which is hiding, which is avoiding confrontation and avoiding conversations that we need to have. Freeze is things like apathy, right? When you're just like lying on the couch going, nope, just no energy, not feeling good. And then we have fawn, which is things like blending in, appeasing, people pleasing, right? And if you can relate to one or all of these things, my dear, you are human and you are normal, because these are normal stress responses. Okay, they're here to teach you. They have advantages and disadvantages, obviously. When we're talking about the 7 levels of energy, which is within the energy assessment tool that I offer, these are level 1 and 2. It's full on judgment, full on ego activation, right? The energy is catabolic, so it does not feel good in your body. It shows up as constriction, as shallow breathing. Sometimes we can't sit still, right? We're causing busyness because the pain of sitting with ourselves is greater than the pain of busyness. It affects our sleep, so we're waking up in the middle of the night, especially during that witching hour, right? When you go through that first sleep cycle and come out the other side, you wake up and you're like, oh, now I'm thinking about work again, or I'm thinking about this relationship again, right? These are all signs of stress happening. Indigestion, heartburn, irritable bowel syndrome, anxiety, heart palpitations, poor concentration, bad memory, and feelings of overwhelm. These are all signs that you're in your stress response. These are all signs that something is happening for you. Okay? So when we're in this full-blown state of stress, the mind is not our friend, because the mind, the harder you push it, the more you think about how to fix things, the faster the mind is going to go. The more you're going to dig and perpetuate and kind of get on this cycle, a loop of understanding, logifying. I know that's not a word, but I'm going to use it. Logifying the stress, and then feeling it again. Your stress response, you're not coming out of that stress response. So in order to come out of that, we need to switch, okay? And to switch, we come into the rest and restore, and in this place, we're able to shift out of that stress, meaning we're able to see things from a different perspective. We come up out of judgment, we come up out of ego. In the 7 levels of energy, this is coming up into anabolic energy. This is where we take responsibility. This is where awareness starts to happen, right? The first step, the foundation, bottom floor, is taking a breath. In Japanese culture, it's said that they're such a happy culture and successful culture because they teach breath as young children. They teach to slowly breathe when triggered for a count of 10 and exhale for a count of 10 times. And so what this does is it trains children to be able to switch from the stress response into the rest and restore, into that anabolic energy. And so as they grow, this is already ingrained in them. It's not something they need to think about. It becomes a subconscious habit over time, right? And so that's what I want this to be for you, that breath, that pause, creating space, creating consciousness, creating opportunity for you to acknowledge, to recognize, oh, my body's feeling a little bit stressed right now. My heart is palpitating. I'm feeling constricted. I'm recognizing that I'm wanting to fly, flight, fright. My tongue's getting tied, right? Without judgment, without like shaming yourself, and just acknowledging yourself that this is what's happening in your body. And that breath is what helps you, is what supports you in creating that conscious space of awareness to be able to do that. So you're no longer reacting, but you're consciously creating the response that you want to have. So breath is one of the pillars of embodiment. Breath, movement, and sound are the three pillars of embodiment. And it helps us process these emotions. Next is we observe, like I said, that we're in that space, that we're beyond our comfort zone. And one of the great ways or great indications that I always like talking about is when you're watching a dog, or when you have a dog, maybe you recognize this. When a dog is off leash, or when a dog is around its owner, it has these circles of comfort, right? And when it goes out of those comfort zones, it naturally comes back. And what it does is it'll go out beyond its comfort zone, and then it'll come back and ground itself into its leader, which is the person. It'll come back and it'll just touch you, right? It'll make contact with your hand if you're out walking, or your leg. Hammy comes into the kitchen. Every day I'm cooking dinner or in there, whatever. If he's been in a different room, he'll come and he'll just nose to my thigh or nose to my calf, just to ground into my energy, to connect and to recenter him in his safety, right? And so we have to do that for ourselves. We have to be not only the leader in our life, but the security in our life, the grounding in our life. When we recognize we're stepping out of that comfort zone, when we're in that stress response, we have to be able to come back into our center. And so what does this look like? Asking yourself, what do I need in order to feel safe right now? What do I need to give myself in this moment to feel comfortable, to feel safe, to be able to open? How does that look? So setting a boundary. If you're with somebody and you're being taken advantage of, or there's a situation that is rubbing up against your values, setting a boundary, voicing that, taking space, leaning into your self-care, having a nap, meditating, grounding in nature, one of my favorites, movement, whether it's just like getting it out of your body and vocalizing the expression. In embodiment, it doesn't matter what the vocalization is. If you're feeling that trigger, just let it out of your body. It doesn't need to be a word. It just needs to be that sound, right? Think of a baby on the floor having a temper tantrum, learning how to process emotion when they're frustrated or angry. They're on the floor, they're screaming, they're moving, right? They're breathing, right? So it's that embodiment practice that they do naturally. This is how we process emotion. And yet, as adults, we see that as like, no, don't do that. But that is really how we're meant to process emotion, so that it comes up and out of our bodies, right? Because emotion, there's nothing wrong with emotion. What's wrong with emotion is that we hold it in. We don't process it. We don't let it out, right? I was sitting on the watching a movie last night, and there was this really sad spot, and it just hit me with so much grief, and I just sat up and I put a pillow over my face, and I just went, right? Just to let that out of my body instead of swallowing it down, because it doesn't feel good to swallow that emotion down. So what you're doing in this is you're showing up for yourself. It's building confidence in yourself. It builds self-respect. It builds that relationship to your own inner guide, your heart, your heart compass, and it self-soothes, right? It's that grounding force. Just like Hammy comes and touches me to make sure that he's safe, this is what you're doing for yourself in this moment. And that's what begins to shift the energy out of the stress response, because you're showing up for yourself. So the next step in doing this is to take yourself out of the situation. Begin to look at it from a bigger perspective, right? When we're in that stress response, we're stuck in that ego, in that, very tunnel vision perspective. And we're missing out on all the other opportunities. We're missing out on all the other infinite knowledge and wisdom that is always there for us. So as you shift out of your stress response, it's about zooming out and seeing the bigger picture. What do you want your ideal outcome to be? In this moment, what values are being challenged? Because often when we're triggered, it's coming up against a value, right, that is out of alignment. Your values are always there to guide you. And when we're constantly being triggered, it means that something is awry, something's out of place. Be detailed in your vision. How do you want to feel? How do you want to think? What are you needing to learn? How do you come back into alignment? Right? Find the clarity. And this is when, Nina, thank you. This is exactly, see, the universe is, guess what? The next step is manifestation. Of course it is. So getting that clarity, right? So you've come through the stress, and you're asking yourself, what is it now? What is this teaching me? What is this showing me? What is it that I need to take forward in order to live my life? My life. Because nobody else, you are not responsible for anybody else's life. You are not responsible for how other people act. You are not responsible for other people's emotions. You are responsible for you. And when you are living aligned, when you are living in flow of your life, thriving in your life, you're the only one that can take those steps. So letting go of everybody else, right? What is it that you need that to come back into that flow? What values are out of alignment? What values have changed? Once you get clear on it, begin the process of manifesting. Speak it out to the world. Speak it out to the universe. Again, using that voice. Express yourself. This is the feminine, the expressive. Ask for what you desire and then let it go, right? Stop focusing on it. Get into the flow of your own life. So what are your passions? What brings you joy? Expressing and being grateful for even the tiniest little minute details of your life. Appreciating the tiny little beauties and nuances of details that really make this life magical, right? Hold that vision. Set time aside every single day to hold that vision, to just check in with it. It's not about focusing on it and again getting back into that like laser vision, because again, when you come back into that laser vision, you're missing out on the opportunities. The universe is always going to bring you opportunities. And when you're micro-focused, you're missing out on some things that may be even way better for you, right? Let the universe bring that stuff in. And when that stuff comes in, say yes to it. Say yes to it. Even if the ego is like, that's not what I wanted, allow yourself the opportunity to just be curious. Maybe the ego doesn't even know that this is what you wanted. The universe does. Your inner guidance does. Your inner guidance always knows the path of least resistance. Always knows the next step to take. Right? And then maintain the energy. Maintain your daily practices. Maintain your daily health so that you're feeling good, so that you're feeling vibrant, so that you're feeling abundant and amazing. Right? So that you begin to flow, so that you begin to attract, so that you begin to observe opportunity. And then guess what? You're going to get triggered again. But this time, instead of it taking a week, instead of it taking a couple days, you're going to be like, oh, hey, this is what's happening. I've learned this lesson already, and I'm going to move through it faster because I'm going to give myself what I need in this moment, and I'm going to get back on track. because the trigger doesn't matter. The trigger doesn't matter. The trigger is there to show you the way. And when we let go of it, we can move back into alignment. We can move back into flow. We can move back into all the good things, right? They're like, triggers are like the bumpers on the side of the bowling alley, right? You throw the ball down, the bumpers pop up, and the ball goes bounce, 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 bounce. Trigger, 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 down in the middle, right? So, my beautiful sisters, thank you for watching. I love, 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 love this stuff. If you're interested in learning more about your stress response and where your energy is at, I highly, highly recommend that you invest in yourself and look into getting an ELI, which is an Energy Leadership Index assessment, which will tell you, it'll show you, it's a concrete printout assessment that will show you exactly where you're in your stress and exactly where you're in your anabolic, thriving, happy energy, so that you have a baseline, so that you understand. And it also tells you the advantages and disadvantages of each and every energy, so that you can use these things, like the bumpers, to move forward with empowerment, with choice, and with opportunity. Okay? And like always, of course, I'm always here for you if you need some support. By all means, just ask, my friend. Lean in. So, have a beautiful day. Love you. Thank you for watching, Nina. Thank you for being here. I'm happy that the universe has worked through me today for you. We'll talk to you guys later. Love you. Bye.